What's up, people? It's another edition of the New Breed Podcast, the world's best quasi-new metal podcast from two dudes who were really there. I'm one half of your hosting duo, Jay Horsecow. With me, I have my partner in crime, the notorious TIM Tim Anderson Jr. Tim, how's it going?
Great, feeling good.
And joining us once again this week, it's been over 2 years, it appears. Bassist extraordinaire Mitchell Fletcher. Mitchell, how goes it?
How are you? Pretty good, pretty good. Thanks for
We,
having me.
we are glad to have you. So, what are we talking about this week, folks? So, this week we're gonna do a bit of a mixed bag episode. So, Tim and I were going back and forth the other day about it. We were swapping stories about '90s albums, like early 2000s albums that we really loved, that were really kind of unique, and we ended up talking about Portishead. So Tim just happened to be texting with Mitchell, and he said, "Hey, Mitchell, we're talking about Portishead coming up." Mitchell went, "Oh, I'm in." So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but then we're going to do a little bit of an interview, mixed interview style, where we're going to talk hip hop, and we're also going to talk to Mitchell about what he's playing in these days. He's got 3 or 4 projects, last I remember, and then we'll just take it there. We can talk about the This Is Hardcore lineup. We can talk about Decibel Fest that was this past weekend. Who got the biggest pop? All right. So Tim, where do you want to start off? You want to start off with Portishead?
It's up to you guys. I don't care. Sure.
All right. So go.
This was so originally we were going to do a full deep dive on the record, but then we decided, you know what? Fuck a deep dive because deep dives are getting corny for me personally. And when I listened to this record over, I was like, this record is pretty hard to describe. So I think talking about how this is a monumental, pretty much a landmark release in the 90s would be a better conversation. And then just talk about how, what it sounds like for people that don't know it and all that stuff. But I will give you guys some facts here for the people listening. So if you don't know who Portishead is, you should probably turn this off, go listen to the record Dummy, and then come back because the record is fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
So
and then listen to the one after it.
Yes.
That one's phenomenal too.
It absolutely is. So some album facts here. Released August 22nd, 94 through Go Beat and London. So produced by Portishead and Adrian Utley, who is in the band. So I don't know why it's Portishead and him when it's basically
because he's sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
Technically he's not in the band.
Oh, he's not?
It's only technically Portishead is just 3 people. And then basically they have the backing band that has been with them since day one.
Gotcha.
Okay.
That's why that happened.
But Adrian plays guitar with them live, right?
Yeah, I mean everyone on that recording plays with them live still.
Okay.
They just, for some reason, I guess there's just 3 core writers.
Oh, okay, makes sense. So it's kind of like Massive Attack, where it's a bunch of core writers, and then you have the line.
Yeah,
which is funny because the one guy in Portishead started off with
Massive Attack. Yep.
Yeah, I think Adrian recorded their first record, or he was part of the recording. He was like a studio hand.
Yeah, I'm looking now, and it's Beth, Jeff Barrow, and Adrian Utley, and Dave McDonald is the engineer who's considered the 4th member. So I guess he's like the dude behind the scenes, like the 5th Beatle.
And then I think Jeff, is that, how did you pronounce that? Jeff?
I think it's Jeff.
He did the Massive Attack stuff too. Like he was working with them in the beginning too.
That is wild.
God, Mezzanine is such a fucking good record. Holy shit, man.
Yeah, I mean, he did remixes for Primal Scream, Paul Weller, Gabrielle, Depeche Mode, Tricky, Gravediggers, The Far Side. Wasn't
Tricky in Massive Attack?
Yes.
Yeah, and he's back in it.
So. Oh, is he? Oh, nice. Okay.
He's been back in for like 2017, 2018.
Oh, okay.
But it's funny that he came up, right? Because you really, for those of us that are familiar with this album when it was a contemporary, you didn't, Portishead was typically in the same sentence as Massive Attack, Tricky, like all those things, all that, and calling it trip hop or whatever, it does it a disservice because this album is so different. But all those bands were, for comparison's sake, typically lumped together for better or for worse.
Yeah, and at the time, I like my 2 were Tricky and Portishead. I mean, I didn't really find out about Massive Attack until a couple years later. I was young when I heard this stuff. I just liked it, and then I deep dove like later in life. But yeah, Tricky is, I think his first 2 records are equally as good as these Portishead records.
Wow, I got to go back and listen to
Yeah, I
that.
haven't heard that. I don't think I've ever heard a full album. I've only heard snippets.
I mean, his music's weird.
Yeah,
You
I
know
mean,
what I mean? It's not for
yeah,
everyone.
yeah. Well, I mean, arguably, Mitchell, you could call Portishead weird. Like, I guarantee you, if we grab some Zoomer walking by Tim's house, we said, "Yo, come in the basement, put headphones on, listen to this," they would go, "What is this?"
Yeah,
But I would
absolutely.
say if you put Tricky on for that same person, they'd probably tell you to turn it off. Where I think Portishead, most people that like any type of music would like Portishead. You know what
You're
I mean?
probably
Like,
right. Yeah.
It's a fucking crazy record. We'll get into that in a second. So, oh yeah, released 94, I said that, but apparently it helped to cement the reputation of Bristol as the capital of trip hop, a genre which was often referred to simply as the Bristol sound. So I did not know that this originated there at first, but now that
Huh.
I jumped into all this stuff, like there's a lot of great fucking artists, man.
mhm.
So the album received critical acclaim and won the 1995 Mercury Music Prize, which I'm assuming is a UK kind of thing, similar
Mhm.
to, over here where they have, what is it, the Grammys or Emmys or some shit.
Yep. Yep.
So the cover of the album is a still image of vocalist Beth Gibbons taken from the To Kill a Dead Man, which is the short film that the band created, for which the self-composed soundtrack earned the band its record contract,
Hmm.
which is kind of weird considering they were doing a soundtrack and then they're like, oh, let's just turn this into a full record, which is actually cool though.
That is cool.
Apparently the band wasn't really a band when the album was released. They weren't playing shows. They are skeptical about it would even sell and didn't really take it serious until it exploded. So I guess when it came out, it just fucking exploded because it went platinum in like
So,
real quick.
Sour Times was all over MTV. All over MTV. You
Yeah.
couldn't escape it.
And you have
I
to
don't
think
remember
about
that.
at the time there was how old are you, Tim? You're younger than
I'm 40.
Oh, so you're only a year younger. Okay. Well, you remember MTV Amp?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, this was all over that. Like at the time, like electronic music in general was popping.
Mhm.
In the early 90s.
And
Yeah.
mid-90s, yeah.
Yep. That's when they had they used to have Alternative Nation, they had Amp, they had they had MTV was actually trying to lump the music together, and I this was one of those songs that
It was
got picked up and just it got huge.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
MTV used to be good.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Now it's fucking Jersey Shore nonsense.
Yo, the Jersey Shore reunion this year is fucking lit. I'm just gonna say that. Move us along. Move us along.
Oh, Brianna watches it all the time, so I'm stuck with it.
Yeah, I would definitely hang out. I would drink beers with Paulie D. I would get him on the show. If anybody's connected with Paulie D, knows him, get him on the show. We would love to hang out and chat with him, dude.
I would do it.
Guys on that show are awesome. Seem
Yeah.
like fun to be around.
Yeah, right.
So listen to this. Dummy was certified triple platinum in the UK in February of 2019 and has sold 920,000 copies in the
Jesus.
UK as of September 2020. Worldwide, it sold 3.6 million by 2008. 2008. So I mean, for expecting a record not to do great, I mean, that sold.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was
wild.
huge. It was huge. But so let's talk about the sound a little bit, right? I mean, so it's 1994. This is, we're coming out of the grunge years. I think at this point, Cobain is gone at this point. Yeah, he's gone at this point.
Yeah.
So you've got Nirvana, you've got Soundgarden, you've got Pearl Jam, you've got all that grunge stuff. Still, the wave is currently cresting, right? Because once I'm convinced, Mitchell, Tim and I have talked about this. Once Cobain kills himself, that's the death knell for, pardon the pun, for grunge music. Like that was I actually made the statement that if Kurt Cobain had not killed himself, we probably never would have gotten Korn. Because I think when he killed himself, the labels started looking for
something.
What's going to be the next thing?
When did the first Korn record come out?
94.
Yeah.
The end of 94. Yeah.
So you could be right. I mean,
what was it, October of 94?
Yeah, it was in the fall. But I mean,
I don't want to get into that. It's crazy that those two records came out in the same year, or those three, In Utero, Dummy, and Korn's first album. That's actually nuts.
And wasn't Rage the self-titled? Was that 93 or 94?
That was 92.
That might have been. Was it that early?
Which is
Yeah.
crazy when you
No.
think about that album coming out in 90. I could go,
92.
all these bands
Oh,
you're talking
shit.
about could have its own podcast.
Look,
Yeah.
dude, so we did a 30 years ago, a couple weeks ago, of the records. So the records that came out in 2000 or 94 would blow your fucking mind, dude.
Oh, the list was unbelievable.
I mean,
I'm
you
gonna
had
have to
Machine
re-listen to
Head,
that.
you had Machine Head's Burn My Eyes,
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
Torn, Portishead. I mean, dude, what was it? Bush 16 Stone.
16
Smashing
Stone.
Pumpkins came out in 94, right? Siamese Dream? Or was that
Uh,
95? Or was it?
Siamese Dream was 94. Melancholy was 95
Damn,
or 96.
they put out a double record that quick.
Yeah.
Well, they had
Yeah.
Gish. Gish came out in what, 92?
Mhm.
Okay.
They had like momentum, like in the underground scene. Think of like how the band Basement, how they're like
Yeah.
huge. They were like that right before Siamese Dream.
Oh,
So they
okay.
already had like a pretty good fan base, and then they dropped Siamese Dream, and that's where people like me got into them. And then that dude probably had 2 albums worth of music written
Yeah.
while Siamese Dream was still being written. You know what I mean?
The
But-
opener on Siamese Dream is so fucking good.
That's
What is it?
if you-
What is it? The hell's
Cherub
that song
Rock?
called? Yep.
Yeah,
God
Cherub
damn, I
Rock,
love it.
yeah.
One of the best openers ever, I think.
I mean, Billy Corgan may be a weird dude, but goddamn, I mean, they had a moment where they were just, it was all 4 cylinders were going. They were hitting on all things.
I'll say this, and before we can have a podcast about this too. Smashing Pumpkins has not put out a bad album, not one.
I don't think so either. Their newest record's great.
Did
Huh.
they get smaller? Sure, but the records themselves are really good. They have moments that suck, but overall, they're all really good records.
Yeah, I wish I could remember. Like, what else came out in '94? Jay, what's it?
Didn't one-
Vulgar.
Did that?
I think. Yeah, Pantera.
Was it Vulgar or
I
was it
think
Far Beyond Driven?
It was one of them.
Didn't the
Yeah.
Downward Spiral come out in 94?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
I wish I still had the fucking list because the list blew my fucking mind.
Wait, don't you? Yeah, where's the list?
I think we talked about this last time 2.5 years ago. The 90s were just a great like era to be raised in for music.
Oh my god, yeah.
I mean, look
It's
at
the
all that
best era.
diversity we just said.
Yeah.
Then you factor in all the hip hop that came out in the early 90s, that like Nas, Illmatic.
Yeah. Fucking Infamous a year later.
All these records we're talking about of all these genres are still groundbreaking records now. Like people
Mhm.
still younger kids that are doing their own thing are referencing like tons of these records. It's like at this point it is like when we were in high school what Led Zeppelin was. And
Yeah.
there wasn't that 30 years. It was what, 30 years, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that makes sense.
I mean, we were even looking through the 20th anniversary, right? So 2004, 3750 by the Acacia Strain, The Curse by Atreyu, Under Oath, Unearth, Behemoth, Lamb of God, Marduk, Isis, Pelican,
Oof.
Scars of Tomorrow, Walls of Jericho, Remembering Never. Like there were so many albums. It's kind of like wild to sit back and think, shit, that was 20 years ago.
To me, that's when music started falling off in general.
Absolutely. Here, I'm going to name you some more records from '94. Super Unknown,
Ugh,
Ill
God.
Communication,
Ooh.
Dookie, Vitology by Pearl Jam, No Need to Argue, The Cranberries. That's a great record. Jar of Flies, Alice in Chains, Purple,
my
Stone
God.
Temple Pilots, Weezer's
love
first
Purple.
record.
Weezer's
Offspring.
first record's incredible too.
Yeah, Offspring, the Smash.
Really?
Ready to Die came out.
Yo,
Aphex Twin, Selected
Aphex
Ambient
Twin,
Works.
Selected Ambient Works Volume 2. Yep.
and like to the people that
yeah.
are listening that might not, that probably weren't even born, every record you just named was on the radio.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You
Every
know what I'm
single one of
saying?
them.
Like, or
Yep.
it was on MTV. It was like, these were like, think about all that diversity that you just said, and it was all on the radio.
Oh, it gets better.
You're not getting that today.
Gravediggers, 6 Feet Deep.
Oh, that's a good one.
Method Man's To Cow.
Wow.
Throwing Copper by Live. Sunny
good
Day
one.
Real Estate with Diary.
Terribly underrated band live. Terrible.
Yeah, they are.
Terrible.
I think it's like, no offense to the religion, but I think that's what what stopped them from getting huge. They were like a Christian band, you know,
Who's
Yeah,
that?
live.
which is kind
Oh
of
yeah.
janky. You know, like they started out as a York Cop, and I mean, Throwing Copper had some hits. Secret Cementi had some moments.
They're a
It's
great band.
yeah.
Let me see. A couple more Nozomatic. Massive Attack with Protection. Outcast with Southern Playalistic. Well, I
Ooh,
forgot. I don't even feel like saying
Good
all
luck,
that.
Tim, trying to figure that pronounce that one. Good luck.
damn, I didn't realize they came out that early.
Ween with Chocolate and Cheese.
Great.
I am not a Ween fan.
Me
I
either.
don't. Yeah, I understand when people aren't. I love them, but I get it.
Nirvana's Unplugged.
Ugh.
God damn, dude.
Jesus.
I mean, it's just.
So needless to
it's
say,
wild, dude.
94 was a wild year.
That Unplugged record was the downfall of grunge to me. That I cannot stand that Nirvana Unplugged.
Really?
Really?
And
Why?
Nirvana's like one of my favorite bands. I don't know. It's just, I guess reading, like, I've been in a Nirvana kick lately with the books, like reading about like all the books from that era. And I guess just reading about like none of them really gave a fuck. And you can kind of tell, like when you watch it and re-listen, it's just like you can kind of tell they just don't
Yeah.
give a fuck. I did like the covers they did, and that the fact that they brought out like the Meat Puppets when they covered the songs, and like that was cool. But like, I don't know. Overall, I wasn't like, I'm not a huge Alice in Chains fan, but I think their Unplugged is the best Unplugged record.
Absolutely.
That's not a bad call. And also, Mitchell, not underrated in hindsight, but the unplugged performance of, I forget the name of the song, with Scott Weiland and just the guitarist, of just them.
Oh yeah,
That was
on the
them,
Crow,
like, yes,
on the Crow soundtrack.
what's it called? Ah, damn it.
Dude, Stone Temple Pilots core is an under, when people want to talk about, I don't think it's grunge. I mean, we could talk about grunge one day. I don't think grunge is real. All these bands that are lumped in grunge, I don't think are grunge, but Stone Temple Pilots, to me, when people talk about grunge, always don't get mentioned a lot. Like, it's always Alice in Chains and Nirvana.
Right.
And I don't get it, because the first core is an insanely good record. It has riffs. And then even Purple was good.
Yes. The song is Plush.
Yeah. Oh, is it? Yeah.
And it was just him and I think Dean DeLeo, the guitarist. And that was where everybody kind of stopped and went, yo, these guys are they're not just a fucking Pearl Jam ripoff. Like, he can sing. And I was telling Tim the other day, after Velvet Revolver, I think that just hit the 20-year mark. I went back and listened to that, and his voice was something else.
That band's great. I mean, I think they're really good. Velvet Revolver. I mean,
yeah,
it's Guns N' Roses and Scott Weiland. I mean, come on.
So hold on. I got some shitload of albums we missed, Jay. Hold on, because these are some Mary J. Blige with My Life.
Okay.
Jimmy Eat World, self-titled.
That's crazy too, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Because then their first major label record didn't come out for what, 8 years? No, 6 years later.
Yeah, they were on a label, and then they got dropped, and then Bleed American, which was with The Middle, which is the MTV blew that one up,
2001.
Right? That was self-released.
Was it?
I think they were dropped and they were self-released that, I think.
Oh, they were dropped from their major label?
Yes.
Oh, you know what? You might be right, because Clarity didn't do, like, the Clarity record, I don't think did well. And that was on a major label.
You're right.
But that's a great record, too.
Yeah, so they got dropped in 99 from Capitol Records. They recorded this with Mark Trombino by themselves in LA. When did they get signed?
Are we still talking Jimmy Eat World?
Jimmy Eat World. Man, we really are going all over the place.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. While you're looking that up, Sick of It All, Scratch the Surface.
That's the album that I got them. Wow, now that I think about it, 94 is the year I got into so much good music then, because that's the record that got me into Sick of It All.
Testament Low, fucking amazing record.
Yeah.
Dude, there's so many, man. Holy shit.
Didn't the Crow soundtrack?
Yep.
The Crow soundtrack came out in 94 too, right?
I think so, yeah.
Divine Intervention.
Yo, so as they're recording that Jimmy Eat World album, The band uploaded demo versions to Napster purposefully because they wanted fans to hear it. At this point, so many A&R people were visiting the band in the studio that they had to lock the doors.
Which makes sense because that record is so much different than Clarity and the
Yes.
album. But it's like not even like Clarity and the one before. I forget the name. You just said it, but that was more if you're going to be emo, more of Sunny Day Real Estate vibes, where it's slower.
Yes.
Modest Mousey, where it's like those bands are slower, less pop at the time. I mean, Modest Mouse went pop later, but Jimmy that Bleed America was like a legit pop record.
Yes. Yes.
I
Oh
think
my
it's a
God.
front to back an incredible record to me.
Oh yeah, you can get 6 tracks in and go, my God, when are the bangers going to stop? And it just keeps going. It keeps going. They also when they wrote the check to cover the mixing of the album, they were terrified that they were going to cash it. They were going to try and cash it, and it was going to bounce. That's kind of wild.
Dude, there you go. This is the Portishead record. They didn't think it was gonna do well. Jimmy Eat World, and then you got 2 records that did fucking crazy.
Amazing, amazing. So when I went back and listened to this album, and I honestly have not listened to it for a decade. I forgot how beautifully weird it is. Right?
Yeah,
Because you've got some hip hop beats, you've got the scratching. The opening of the first song has a theremin, right? Which is the weirdest instrument ever created.
I was thinking that. You think that's a theremin? Because
Yeah.
when you watch the live videos, it's like an organ. But I guess
Oh, maybe it's not. There's another. Wait a minute. There's another.
it does sound like it.
There's another instrument they used. What's it called? A cymbalum? I don't know. Like it just sounds so different.
Yeah.
Well, they sampled a lot of stuff and then they kind of took it and made it their own. So basically, it's kind of the same thing when you make a beat and you say you take a sample from like Marvin Gaye or something, and then you can like detune it, you can tune it higher, you can make it go backwards. So they did a lot of stuff where they manipulated stuff in the studio.
And they did it.
Yeah.
They did it themselves. Like they recorded stuff of their own, and then had it because this is when you could get stuff pressed quickly. They would get it pressed on record to sample it in the songs,
which is
I think
really cool. That is a really cool idea.
Yeah, that is wild, man. Yeah, because you ain't getting something pressed that quick these days.
No, my God.
We'll have it out in 2027 for you.
Believe me, I just looked into it. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, because you're competing with Urban Outfitters and repressing all of like Yes's greatest hits for Record Store Day.
And it's not even cheap anymore.
No,
it's way too expensive.
No.
Oh, I forgot I wrote this down. Here you go. The production of the album uses a number of hip hop techniques such as sampling, scratching, and loop making. The album was not recorded digitally. They sampled music from other records, but they also recorded their own original music, which was then recorded onto vinyl records before manipulating them on record decks to sample.
Yeah, that's different, right? It's different. And every song, I mean, so there's a vibe of like somebody called it like 70s James Bond spy music, right? This is the stuff that plays kind of in the background. And Tim and I, truthfully, we ran out of descriptors because each song is so unique in its own way that there's the common thread truly is the vibe and the soundscape, but the way they manipulate it and they do different things. I went right from this album into the self-titled album, which came out after this, and I was like, damn, like
that one has some of my favorite Portishead songs.
Yeah, it's so good.
I think it's kind of pretty much an extension of Dummy, kind of, but it's more. It's definitely, you could tell that the recording budget was up, and you could definitely tell they put way more time into it, I think, personally.
And I think from like the second half of Dummy is when they found themselves, because the first half is what you guys were saying. It kind of sounds the same.
It does.
Like it's that vibe. But then I think it's Numb. From like Numb to the end, it's like they really found their sound, which then went into the self-titled record, like the song Roads.
I fucking love that track. Yeah,
it's an amazing song, and I think that's like the perfect. If you were to show someone what they sound like, I would show them that song.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, that's I would pretty much say that's a good representation. Here's some more crazy shit. So where are we at here? in order to create a vintage sound, Barrow said they distressed the vinyl records they had recorded by putting them on the studio floor and walking across them and using them like skateboards. They also recorded the sound through a broken amplifier for the track Sour Times. And then they used a bunch of samples. I don't want to go through all of them, but they pretty much just shit all over the records and then just whatever sound came out of them they got, which is
That
cool, man.
jangly sample for the chorus in Sour Times, I think, is one of the most unique sounds I've ever heard, and I could not recreate that if I tried. You know what I'm talking about? It's almost like something is rattling in a cage. Can you picture it? Like, can you hear it? I don't want to play the audio.
I think those things like that right there, what you're saying to me is what makes that sound. Like all these things you're saying is what makes the Portishead sound. And obviously, like the Spy soundtrack music, like they intentionally did that because they wanted. If there's like, they don't really mention bands they're influenced by. They just say hip hop, jazz, and like spy movies. And there's really not a better definition of what they sound like. It's like perfect. Like the music is like the bass and the drums are very jazzy. And then the bass drums are very hip hop. And then obviously the spy sound is like undeniable. You think of James Bond when you hear them.
Oh yeah, yeah. Especially in the track we were just talking about during the chorus when she's like, "Nobody loves me." Like you can hear that through that, which that track is fucking incredible, man.
I listened to Dummy, then I listened to Portishead, then I listened to Live at the Roseland, and then I started all over again. And I will be honest with you, I was wildly productive at work while I had that on in the background, and I think it's because the vocals are not distracting.
Yeah.
Right. Like Mitchell, we've talked about it on the show. Most of the times when I'm trying to work and get shit done, I listen to like fucking slam or brutal death metal because the vocals at that point make no sense anyway. So it doesn't matter. Right. Because my ear isn't catching what they're saying.
It's just part of the noise.
Yeah. But this, it's so, I guess the word I'm looking for is tastefully subdued. I guess that's the descriptor where her vocals are not overpowering, but they're just at the right level where they sound good without me consciously picking up her singing.
It's an instrument. Her
vocals I was literally just going to say that. I think what you're trying to say is her voice isn't just a singing voice. It's an actual added instrument to the band. So that's why they're like her voice is fucking incredible, man.
And there's really no one else that could do it. No. I've heard people cover Portishead, and I mean, the music was whatever. I mean, there's only so much you can do to cover them. But like, where they really are different, it's her voice. Because even her solo stuff, it's great. I really like her solo stuff, but it's not the same. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
You ever hear the band The Gathering?
Mm-mm.
So there's a girl who sings in that. Her name's like Anek something. Dude, if you want to compare anyone to Beth Gibbons, it's her. So I'll send you I'll send you a record by The Gathering. They were like an old Century Media band, but they weren't heavy.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
And then Anek sings on Addicted by Devin Townsend. She sings on the whole record. So that's that record, Jay?
Yes.
With Universe and a Ball and all that. That's her right there. That's her singing on all that.
One of the things that triggered for me, like your point that nobody sounds like her. It's true. But there are artists that kind of come close. If you ever heard of the band Venus Hum?
Mm-hmm.
They did an album, I think it was Big Beautiful Sky in the early 2000s. I saw them open for the Blue Man Group. She comes close. She's way more poppy, like up in the mix, like vocalist, not like an instrument. But I mean, there's a good 5 or 6 songs on that album where you're like, yo, how did this band not blow up? Because it just sounded amazing.
You have to send me that too. But like Beth's voice, I think, is a great example of jazz and like old blues. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's raspy, but it's like the way she sings them, I think is more blues oriented or more jazz oriented, I guess. And then what would you consider Amy Winehouse? Like when you
she's a soul singer. I would consider her like a soul singer. Yeah,
that's what I'm more getting at. Maybe not blue, but I mean blues and soul kind of.
Yeah, same kissing. They're kissing cousins,
right?
Yeah.
But soul, I would say it's more soulful. Her voice, Beth's voice, mixed with like she uses it in as if she was like an instrument in a jazz song. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, honestly, there's no band that sounds like them. There was no band that sounds like them before them, and there's
Yep.
no band that even comes close to sounding like them afterward. You can't really name a band.
No. Yeah, and
like-
if you tried,
like
right,
that.
Mitchell, you'd sound like a ripoff.
Oh, I've
If you
tried.
tried. But the other thing, as I was listening to the albums and going back and back and back, if you think about it, if you break it down to its constituent parts, right? There's jazz drumming, hip hop scratching, female like soul vocals, right? None of those things, and some weird instruments, right? None of those things by themselves stand out as a descriptor.
Mhm.
Even when I say them all together, they don't really, okay, well, I get it. You can kind of picture in your head okay, I kind of get where they're going. But the way they put those pieces together, where none of the strange instruments don't overpower the drums, which don't overpower the scratching, which don't overpower her voice. All the pieces come together in this really fascinating combination of that's what makes them so unique. It wasn't, it's like KFC, right? It's not necessarily the ingredients, it's how you put them together.
And yeah, and I think like what you're saying about all the different instruments, like Rhodes is a great example of like they find a place for the instruments when they want them to overpower everything. Like in Rhodes, like towards the middle, they really bring up the strings a lot, you know, and then they cut the strings and then they like punch in the bass louder and back into the chorus, and then they cut it all out and it gets real chill again. And I love how they take these little things you're not thinking about, but they'll like beef it up so you think about it for a second and now it's stuck in your head for the rest of the album. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
you don't pay attention to like bass. Since I'm a bass player, I pay attention to that stuff, but I know a lot of people don't. But when an album like this, they make you pay attention to it, then cut it back a little bit, but now it's in your head. You already
Right.
So you hear it, and I think that's so cool that they do shit like that.
Yeah, when you listen to the Mezzanine record by Massive Attack, it's kind of the same things going on in there, because you get the tracks, like you get to like track 6 and you're like, wait, I gotta go back to track 2 real quick, because there's just something stuck with me right there.
Yeah.
What's the hit on that song, on that record?
Well, they have the cover of Man Next Door, which I honestly think is the best track on the record. I know it's a cover, but goddamn,
Well, we're talking Massive Attack, right?
Yeah, the way they redid that song is just fucking phenomenal, dude. Because that song came out in like 74, I think.
Teardrop is what I'm talking.
Oh, Teardrop.
Yes, okay. Yes.
But think about the intro to Teardrop. It's like I feel like it's 2 minutes long, but it keeps your attention for that whole. It might not be it's long though, but it keeps your attention that by the time it all kicks in, you don't realize like 2 minutes were just wasted. They're like, you know what I mean? And I shouldn't say wasted, but like not many bands can do stuff like that. And I guess that's what's cool about trip hop is they like catch you with these things. They get you in there.
Yeah, well, you also got to remember, music these days is so repetitive and so unoriginal. You don't get anything like this anymore. I mean, what band could you think right now that does stuff like this?
Well, think about go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, you were just talking about all the things they did in the recording, right? Think about how cool that is. I don't think when bands go into the studio now, like, and from personal, like, and I don't believe bands when they say they don't do this, but like a lot of it is, all right, play this riff, and we only need one good take of that riff, and then we'll paste it.
Absolutely.
And I get, but like, so a lot of the magic of the studio is lost because, like, think about all the cool shit they probably thought of by doing all this other cool shit. Like, you know what? We should try, you know, like, you just don't. And I think that's what I'm getting at is like today music lacks, and I don't mean any disrespect to any band because it's not like I'm saying any band I'm in doesn't lack the same thing, because you know what I'm saying? But like, there's not as much thought being put into it. It's more like,
let's get it out.
Does it sound cool?
Yeah.
Cool.
Does it have a breakdown?
Right. Or but I'm talking about with any type of music.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Even in like just hip hop, anything, metal, like
they're trying to hit something. Because if we hit this,
look at Kerry King's new song, right? Great song, It's a really good song, actually, but it sounds like a Slayer song.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
it sounds like an old Slayer song. And like that kind of sucks because it's like, shouldn't you be pushing the boundaries a little bit? You know what I'm saying? It's just like no
Absolutely.
one seems to be pushing the boundaries. It's like they're worried
Well,
about production too much and
yeah.
not the song.
Well, here's a perfect example. 1994, The Downward Spiral. That
Mhm.
record, the soundscapes on that record, you'll
Incredible.
never hear that again. That'll
Yeah.
never be reproduced.
They couldn't
The,
even do it.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
no. Mitchell, by the way, if you didn't pick it up, Into the Never is the book about the Downward Spiral. Dude, you will fall in love with that album all over again. I read it.
What's
I
it
gave the
called?
title to Tim. Tim read it. It is, you literally will listen to that album nonstop for a week as you're reading it. It is awesome.
What's it called?
Into the Never.
Okay. I just got one of those Kindles, so I'm
Oh,
on
there you
Oh,
the
go.
dude, it's
reading thing
awesome.
right now.
It's awesome.
Into the Never. Cool.
Yeah, I couldn't put it down. It was great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another one. Like another record, 94. There must have been something special in 94 because even the hip hop stuff like Illmatic and stuff, just the way that's written, music from a music standpoint is incredible. When you start, like, there's a Instagram I follow where they break down how they write some of the Nas Illmatic stuff, and even the way they sampled it and how they sampled songs was like groundbreaking for that time.
You gotta,
You
you
know?
gotta, you gotta link. You gotta tag me in one of
Yeah,
them.
pass that along. Yeah.
Yeah, next time I see it, I mean, I caught on to it because it was like a huge viral thing for a minute. But next time I see one, because the algorithms, like, you forget you even are
Yeah.
following some
Yeah.
things until like
Was
3 years later. You're like, oh shit, why? I wish I had this for the whole 3 years.
was that DJ Premier that did them beats? A lot of them? Yeah. Okay. He did New York State of Mind, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean,
that,
think about that beat right there.
yeah, the amazing
Incredible.
beat.
You
Yeah.
hear that and you're like, I'm in New York.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, you're like,
Mm-hmm.
you're driving around the farms of New Jersey or Pennsylvania or Delaware, or wherever the fuck you're from, and you're just like, oh, I'm riding around New York right now. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's the same thing with Infamous. Them beats
Yep.
will live on forever, man.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
so simple, but they're so simple. They're grimy as hell. You know what I mean?
The sad thing is that they sound simple to us. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's not the sad thing, but I think that's when you know you got something, when something isn't simple, but it sounds simple, because then you try to do it. Like Portishead, we'll bring it back to Portishead. I told you, I tried to do this. You know, I tried to do this sound. And because in my head, I'm like, oh, this sounds simple. You get a lo-fi drum kit, you start, you know what I mean? You start doing these things. Then you try it and you're like, this is not simple. And then you just, all the things they did in the studio, you're like, you can't reproduce that on a fucking computer. It's not going to sound the same.
Can't do it.
There's
I
a
just
magic that comes out when when you have brilliant musicians in a room. Like there's a magic that comes from that combination that, to your point, if you break it down to its constituent parts, it makes sense. But when
Yeah.
you try to put it back together, it does not have the same resonance.
And also, if you, sorry, you can
no,
go
you're
ahead.
fine. You're fine. Go ahead.
I'd say if you're in a band and if you're in a band with other people and you allow them to be in that band with you, I think that's where good magic happens too. Like Trent Reznor with the Downward Spiral. Yeah, he's the main guy, but he's got Atticus Ross wasn't part of it. Flood was part of it.
Yep.
And when you have other creative people that might see the same vision you have, but see certain parts a little bit differently, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
oh, you want this industrial album, I'm with you on this. But then you start adding little things. That's when I think magic happens. When you bring people on to be in your band or be a part of a band and you let everyone fucking do it, is when things start coming together.
Yeah.
And you could tell Portishead, there's like the one person that's throwing out ideas, but he lets them take that idea he's doing and do their own thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's when I think bands are the best. When you let the band be the fucking band instead of treating him like a fucking hired gun. You know what I mean?
Right.
Great
That's
point.
when you get this shit going. And I think a lot of bands nowadays of all genres, so anyone listening in hardcore, I don't mean you guys specifically, just in general, there's always the hired gun type person. You know what I mean? And then that's when the music starts sounding like the same fucking thing.
Yep.
And then you
Right.
start getting the same production because you're just getting producers that are fucking and engineers that are just tired of people coming in and not trusting their vision. Like, you came to me to get this recording, but you're not letting me do anything. You came to me, and then all these records sound like a Will Putney record. You know what I mean? They
I
all
was literally
eventually
just going to
start.
say that.
So it's funny you say that. So this past week, it was Decibel Festival in Philly, right? Scott Burns was actually there signing copies of his book, the Scott Burns book from Morrisound. And when I read that book, it was really fascinating because he talked about, look, I'm not his approach is the antithesis to what you were talking about, Mitchell, where he said, look, you need to come to me with your ideas, come to me with a fully baked concept. He said, I'll record it. I'll tell you what I think, but I'm not there to peek and poke and drive. I'm just there to put the music on the tape. And he talked about how Roadrunner was always trying to get him to try and rein in Glenn Benton from Deicide. And some of the other things where he's like, look, I'm just a fucking engineering guy. Like, I will tell you if I think it sucks or not, but I'm not there to. And the examples he gave was like Beneath the Remains, where he's like, these guys came in here and they had a fucking idea. Overkill had an idea. Cannibal Corpse, Napalm Death, for Harmony Corruption, they had an idea. He's like, I'm just there to capture that thing coming together. He said it's not the Scott Burns show, which I thought was
But those
really interesting.
Those records you mentioned were like records where the band already went through producers and engineers that got them to that point.
True.
They didn't just cut. Sepultura didn't just start going to engineers and going, "Hey, just record us." You know what I mean? They had people help them out. I like going to, like, when we record with Len, any of the bands I record with Len, he will tell us if something sucks, but he'll also offer ideas.
Yep.
And it's good to hear people that are also creative and good at what they do give ideas, because they're hearing you from an outside perspective. So they might hear something completely different. When you're just hearing it from your perspective, you're in your own little box, your own little world. I don't think it's good to be like that. I always want to work with someone like Len where they can be like, that sucks, try something like this. Like, Will Putney is a great producer, engineer, because he does that.
He's a musician, yeah.
Look at Knock Loose before Will Putney. They were good. There was a reason they got to where they got, because they were good as is. But you could tell when they went in with him, he just took what they were doing and was like, probably just like, hey, try this, try this, try this. And now they're like, I'm not saying they're massive because of him, but we can't lie, he helped them.
Yeah, it definitely helped. Definitely helped. I'll never forget in that interview, we interviewed him right before the next Vane album came out. And we asked him, like, Will, you can't talk about it, but the first one is just a monster. And we asked him, like, so what do you think of that second one? And he took a beat, and I think he said something like, man, it's terrifying. Yeah, and then we were like, sold.
The second Vane record?
Yeah.
Which is a great record. I don't know why people aren't talking about it. Still, like they do the first.
You know what? You know what, man? You're completely right, because no one talks about that record.
Nope.
Well, because
they did for like a month, and then it just went out. It just disappeared.
This is my gripe with fans of metalcore, hardcore, all the cores, all the heavy shit. Is there's a lot of people like us who like diverse music, not just. I mean, we all come together for one style of music, but we're all like all types of shit. It seems more though today the younger kids aren't there yet, and I hope they get there. So they wanted the first Vane record. You can't tell 5 musicians who are fucking talented that are pumping out all types of music on the side. You can't be like, hey, we want that first record that was written fucking 3 years before it was even put out.
Exactly.
Right.
So, and now you're waiting another 2 years to put out. You're talking 5 years from when those original songs were written, and you expect them to be there like that. And it sucks because, like, I think the second Vane, I think the first one's great, and I think the second one's even better because they really, and I think it ages well. I just listened to it the other day. I remember when I first heard it, I was like the person I was just talking about. I wanted to hear that original Vane, and so I was like, yeah, it's good, but it's not as good as the first one. And then this is the testament to how good it is. You wait, and then you listen to it without the ears of expecting something like the
Mhm.
original
Yep.
one, and then you go, holy shit, I was an idiot for sitting here and going, this isn't as good.
Right,
Because
right.
it's fucking it's great on its own terms. It's doing its own thing. Like they have tracks on there where I'm like, holy shit. Like
Yeah, like how do you
Mhm.
do? How did you do that?
Yeah.
Yes,
but
yes.
people were just expecting them to do the whole as the sun sets vibe again, and it's just like, let them
Oh
cook,
god
man.
damn. That As the Sun Sets is so good. I gotta
Yeah.
listen to that tomorrow.
Great record.
We're
But
going down the fucking rabbit hole here.
I think a
Yeah,
good
are we even talking
comparison.
about Portishead anymore?
Yeah. I think a
And this is
good
what you wanted.
comparison. Yeah, a good comparison for modern age people that actually go in the studio and pump out hits for me is fucking Hunter from Mood Ring.
Yeah.
The
That
dude
guy
just,
he's got a fucking ear. He
yeah, he
knows what
does,
he's
man.
doing. Yeah.
I mean, look at Body Box, Mood Ring. He did stuff on the
Same
Vatican
person
record.
Yep.
that did buy because Mood Ring, I don't know much about them. They're not heavy, right?
They're
Kinda.
getting there. So Hunter's pedigree is he started off in like MySpace deathcore bands. So he's the singer behind Mood Ring, but he played guitar on that first Body Box stuff. He plays and sings on the Psycho Frame EPs that just came
Great.
out.
Yes, great. Okay.
He's produced stuff for Vatican. He's done stuff, I think, for Iris.exe. He's the Jester. Dog was one of his side projects. Like the dude's got an ear. He's got
He
an ear,
did.
and he's
Psycho Frame's
He
awesome.
he did that record of the dudes from Florida. It's like a 3-piece. They just played This Is Hardcore a couple of years ago, like young kids. I forgot what the fuck their name is.
he
I was
did
gonna say-
he did Weeping from New Jersey, which I think is fucking great.
Yeah, they're good.
I was
think
gonna
we
say
just-
Bather, but it's not Bather.
I think we just played with Weeping at New Jersey Death Fest.
I
Probably
think
more than
so.
likely.
Yeah, yeah.
Does that have
Yeah.
people of other bands?
Probably.
Roseblood, right?
I
More than
think
likely.
so. Yes, yes.
They're good. I mean, Roseblood's good too, but Weeping.
I really like
think
Weeping. Yeah.
they played before us, and I remember watching them and just going, why? Why do we have to play after this?
They're like
God damn it.
they're like a grindier version of Nails, right? Like I love it. I love it. I think yeah, but I found that because Hunter produced it, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, if he touched it, it's got to be kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's if you want to call modern day, I think that dude's got an ear for producing and writing music. He's talented, man.
Yeah.
You haven't heard Mood Ring yet?
I know the name. I totally going through. Just sometimes I go through a time where I just can't listen to new music.
Mhm,
I just
mhm.
either
Yeah.
have to listen to podcasts or older music, and then I finally come around and start checking out everything people are talking about. And I think they fall under the. Now I'm going to go check them out tomorrow.
I'm gonna send you in Messenger the new EP they did. I think it's one of the best EPs I've ever heard. 3 songs, 3 fucking straight bangers, right? Banger
Yeah.
after banger, and it's pretty much new metal with like an electronic feel to it. But dude, he's an amazing singer.
It's very much take Depeche Mode and make them a little more abrasive and aggressive,
Okay.
and that's that with a new metal band sound. That's
You got me on that one because it's so funny. Mike Polero, who plays in Fury 5 now, shout out to you guys. I talked to him the other day. I was like, I just want to take Depeche Mode's like synth parts and turn them into guitar parts. So that's fucking awesome to hear that someone's doing something like that.
I think you're really gonna like that stuff.
I think you're really gonna like that. So you gave us the lead in, Mitchell. So what bands are you doing these days? What are you playing in? What do you got going on?
I am actually just down to one band finally.
Wow, look at you.
Well, I guess I'm doing something with Mike and a couple other guys I don't want to talk about right now. It's just really just
Fucking
internet
around.
things right now. There's stuff there. It's something me and Mike have been working on for years. And finally he found people that so you'll hear it soon. It's like definitely death metal, like
okay.
deathcore. It's more like what Mike grew up on, like the deathcore, the MySpace stuff.
Okay.
I don't want to say it sounds exactly like that, but
you talking about Mike that played drums in Descent?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. and now he plays in Fury of 5.
Okay.
Fucking insane drummer.
Insane drummer.
He wrote all the guitar for this stuff we're doing. He didn't want to play drums on it, so we have someone awesome that's doing drums. I don't want to say until it's all recorded and actually happening. And then I just play in Blackest Dawn, which is like, I don't know if you guys have listened to the new stuff. We just dropped a new
Absolutely.
record,
Yep.
False Gods.
I think that them 3 songs are what New Jersey used to sound like and should sound like these days, because that shit is it's heavy, dude.
Yeah,
Well,
it is.
Thank you. There's a
How
reason
many-
it sounds like old New Jersey.
Well, I was just gonna say, is it ex-members of who? Is it Shattered Realm?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Chris who sings. He's
Okay.
sang for Shattered Realm.
Okay, I
And
thought so.
I think he also played guitar in the very beginning
Okay.
of Shattered Realm. Al, who played drums on the Shattered Realm record,
Okay.
and Alex, who also played guitar for that. So like pretty much the guys who started Shattered Realm, and then Frank from Years Spent Cold.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
All right.
it's like, to me, it sounds like a mix of both bands, Shattered Realm and Years Spent Cold, but like,
Yeah, that's
like
fair.
updated, you know?
Yeah,
I
the
mean-
production's great.
Yeah.
I mean, Len killed that shit.
Dude, you know me, I'm a Len stan. I love Len, but when he sent us that stuff after we were done recording it, like when we were all comfortable with the mix and stuff, I just sat there like, holy shit. And then we played
Yeah.
a show. He's in Freight Train now, so we played a show of Freight Train. And the first thing I said to him, I was like, dude, that's the best recording you've done so far. And I'm not
Wow.
saying it just because I'm like in the band. I was like,
Mm.
dude, you blew my mind with how good that sounded, like
Dude,
production wise.
when he did my old band's EP and he sent it to me, I fucking sat in my car and fucking tear came out of my left eye. And I was like, that sounds so fucking good. It just makes me love this band even more, because when you get a great recording, man, it completely turns the tables on
Yeah.
everything you've done, dude.
You start playing the songs differently. Like you
Yeah,
actually like
yeah.
them. Not that you don't like them, but you know, you practice
chore,
them
yeah.
so much before you go, and then you sit in the studio so long playing them, you're just like not bored of them, but you're just like, oh.
I've heard
And
this
then-
a million times.
yeah.
Yep.
And then that's even we kept playing them and kept playing them. I'm sure we all got to that point. And then he sent us the mixes the next day, and it was just right away. We're like, holy shit,
He sent them the next day. God damn, dude.
I mean, we had a time. We wanted them out by a specific time. I mean, we kind of went into this whole thing and rushed it on our end because we wanted it out for the Fury Death Fest and the Fury of 5 show, because they were 2 weeks apart. So we just wanted
Gotcha.
something newer. So we kind of rushed it, which I think is why it came out so well, honestly.
Probably you didn't overthink it. You didn't overthink it.
We had no
Yeah.
time to overthink it. And but thank you for checking that out. I think
oh yeah, absolutely, dude.
I think they're the
It's-
3 best songs I've ever been a part of. And I like
Wow.
all of the bands I've ever been in, but these, like, when I make those Facebook posts, like, being proud of it, I really mean it, you know? Like,
No, you
Mhm.
should be proud of it, dude. I mean, because there's only a couple bands out right now that catch my eye out of Jersey. I mean, Bayway is that shit's amazing.
well, I was gonna say, you were talking about like Jersey. That's what you were saying it should sound like. I think Jersey is on the come up again, and shout out to Bayway, because honestly, like, they're the reason why people are paying attention to Jersey again. I mean,
Dude,
Mhm.
I don't care if
100%
you're
right.
from Jersey listening to this and going, no, it's not. Yes, we've had great bands from Jersey this whole time. I'm not saying that, but people just were not talking about it like 20 years ago. Jersey was like the hub of music. You had Shattered Realm, God forbid. I mean, tons
Yep.
of other bands. People wanted to come
E-Town.
play.
Yep.
Yeah, E-Town. How can I forget E-Town? You know, and the fucking Fury of 5, and people wanted to come to New Jersey and play New Jersey. You know, and now it's like that again. Like, it really, like, that Fury of 5 show we just played. Holy shit, the vibe was insane. I was like, I haven't felt this way since Club Chrome in New Jersey.
I was gonna say, Mitchell, the Fury 5 show, was that the one up at Salty's?
Yeah, Salty's is a great venue.
Yeah, I mean, I will argue that Bayway single-handedly willed that type of venue into existence because they're doing shows all the time. I don't know how it's going to work in the summer when it gets kind of nuts down there, but
No,
yeah, they're doing tons of
they
shows,
started this by doing shows last summer there.
which is wild.
And the way I don't, so I'm assuming you've never been there.
Not yet, no.
Okay, because when we played, that was the first time I went. I mean, it's about 2 hours away from me, so
Yeah,
it's like
it's a hike, dude. It's a hike for
like
me.
I'm
Yeah.
still New Jersey. I'm in South Jersey, but people don't realize how far stuff in Jersey can be. But anyway, I walked into this place. The staff was awesome, but you walk in, it's a main bar. Then you go in to the right, there's a small stage room with a bar, and that you see a lot of videos from there. And then you go to your left, there's another bar with a bigger room. Just the way it's laid out is really fucking nice and functional for these bigger shows that are happening there. It's a cool venue, and thank God the kids these days are way more respectful than the kids like how we were 20 years ago, because this place wouldn't exist if there was ignorant assholes like we were 20 years ago.
Oh my
And
Respect
the
to these
location,
younger kids,
right, Mitchell?
Yeah,
Like that's a not inexpensive. That is that's not an inexpensive area like Como. Like that's deep Monmouth County. Like it's. I'm curious to see though what happens with so House of Independence just reopened for shows. So I wonder if it'll end up being like the Truck and the TLA where they have dueling shows, you know? I mean that's a good problem to have.
Call. Yeah.
It's a good problem to have.
But I do want to say shout out to Bayway because
dude, you know, I think they're the best hardcore band out right now.
Who what is it? What's Jamie Justice thing? All high tides raise all ships.
Yep.
I mean I'm seeing that firsthand with a band like Bayway, like just because people are checking out every band from New Jersey now, and I'm in a band from New Jersey, you know, so it's fucking awesome. So shout out to them.
I think the record that Jay did, the 5-song EP he did by himself, I forget what it's called at this present moment. That is some of the hardest shit I've heard in a long time.
Yeah, I think that carries forward. That carries forward to the shit that he does now.
Yeah.
Right, the Bayway stuff, it does.
Yeah, well, what the hell's the record he called? Yeah.
I'm trying to.
That's why I originally hit you up and I was like, yo, please tell me you know who did this record. And you're like, oh, that's Jay from Bayway. And I'm like, oh, shit, okay. And then we got him on. He's super cool.
Oh, right. Yeah. I do remember that. Yeah, because you were talking about it. I just hit him up, man. He's cool.
Yeah. He came on right away. He was cool, man.
He was in Years Spent Cold, too.
Yeah. Jay, are you trying to look for that?
Trying to find it, yeah.
I have it in my music. I just don't want to scroll through it while we're talking. But
I also, from what I understand, I think he's writing stuff with Shattered Realm.
Yes.
Oh, is he?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And they're on. So both you guys are on This Is Hardcore this year.
Yeah. Yep.
Good shit, man.
I'm stoked to play again.
What day you playing?
Friday with E-Town.
Nice. There you go.
I should say the whole Friday is
Friday and Saturday back to back are fucking unreal.
Yeah,
like unreal.
Yeah, I got to pull it up for Friday because I know Morning Again's playing on Friday.
I'm wondering who them two TBAs are.
Yeah, me too. People are asking me. I was like, guys, I didn't know who was playing this until it got announced. So
yeah,
it's not like he just throws the fucking.
Yeah, he's not telling the people that are playing like too much leak information to worry about it. So Friday is
what's his name leaked like 3 weeks ago? Black Flag that leaked.
Was that 3 weeks ago? Because I saw it the night before.
Yeah,
someone put
like
it on
3
Reddit.
weeks ago. Yep.
I can't find it. Damn it.
So Friday is Shattered Realm, Strength for a Reason, No Grave, Morning Again, Domain, Demise, Brat's awesome too. I just listened to them. Blackest Dawn, Us. I'm gonna fuck this name up. Balmora,
yeah.
Balmora. Who I'm sorry, incredible. I'm just bad with certain words. They are really good.
Yeah,
a great example of seeing young kids bringing back a sound I grew up on, but doing it really well.
Yes,
and then E-Town Concrete. It's a solid ass Friday night to get shit started.
That J-Way band is called Baptized in Pain.
That's it.
That's the more metal band, right?
Yeah, it's fucking incredible though.
Yeah, because I think Len recorded that.
Oh, did he really?
I could be wrong. I know Len. If you said it's 5 songs, maybe not. I know.
I think Jay recorded that actually. I think he recorded that himself. I'm pretty sure he did. Because dude, it sounds so good. I remember hearing that and I was like, who the fuck wrote this? Because this is straight up my
Yeah.
alley, man.
Yeah.
He's very talented.
Yeah, that dude's cool, man. We got to get him back on.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, dude, I gotta give him all the credit in the world. That dude is fucking hustling, right? He's on Instagram, he's on Facebook, he's on Twitter, he's got merch, they got this, they got that. Like, he hustles. He hustles, and their merch designs are fucking great, right?
Yeah, the aesthetic is great.
Yeah, the
It
Timberland
sucks 'cause-
ripoff is great.
It
No,
sucks because he's taking all the good ideas.
The t-shirt he just did today, it's a North Face logo, and it just
Yeah,
says
that one-
Bayway,
that one's
motherfucker. I'm like, yo, that's hard.
And
What do you
and their new song just came out today too.
Mm-hmm.
Or was
what
it?
do you think is the future for a band like that? Like I know Days picked them up, but like do you think that's a band that gets put on like what's a big hardcore label these days? Flat Spot, but they're more
I
like
think Days is pretty big. You know?
Yeah, I think Days is probably they're up there. I mean, they're in Flat Spot. Maybe a smaller label is stuff like Euphoria,
Yeah.
right? I
yeah,
think
yeah.
Days is. I think that's
They're pretty up there.
yeah,
I mean, I can't
that
really
Afira puts out great shit too.
yeah.
I don't think if they were to do something like the future of them, if they keep going, because what's cool about what they just did was, each song is a little bit different that they've just been putting out. So I could see if they were to go to a different label, I think it would be a bigger label outside of a hardcore label.
Like a
Yeah.
Pure Noise
Because
or
like
something.
Days is a great label.
Like a Monarch Heavy, Pure
Yeah,
Noise.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those are great labels, and I think those labels in general are going to start looking at the scene now because there's like a lot of really good bands all over the country coming out right now that are hardcore has is doing really well right now. So it's like I think some of these labels are going to take advantage of it, because they're drawing kids. You're talking about bands that are drawing kids that bands like the Acacia Strain are drawing, like some
Yeah.
are drawing that big of numbers right now. So, and some of them aren't even on a label,
Yeah, this is true.
I think you're right, Mitchell. I think if any of the smart A&R guys, and shout out to, we're eventually going to get him on the show, Mike Gitter. That dude never sleeps.
Yeah.
He is in a show every night of the week. But I mean, there are so many bands out there that are putting in the work, and you don't want to be the one who didn't sign such and such. Like I will tell you, this weekend at Decimal Fest, the three sets with the biggest reaction were in no order. On Friday, it was Enforced. They got a huge reaction.
great.
They got a huge reaction because I mean it's hardcore with Slayer riffs.
Yeah.
Right. Played at warp speed. They got a huge reaction. Black metal, Lamp of Murmur. The room was packed.
Nice.
And I will tell you the biggest set of the entire weekend was 200 Stab Wounds. That place was packed from wall to wall.
Yeah.
And it was one of those undulating rats in a bag type sets where the whole place was moving. It was packed in for them.
Yeah, they're on the come up now too, and that's great. I think death metal is on a come up like we haven't seen since the 90s.
Yeah.
You
Agreed.
You got bands like Vomit Forth, 200 Stab Wounds, who are making like Frozen Soul, making really big waves. And I've never seen that because I was too young when Obituary and Cannibal Corpse were on that. But that's the last, from like the mid 90s to now, I didn't see it happen before. So you know what I'm saying? Like the early 90s was the last time that something like this happened.
Mm-hmm.
Heavy music in general
it's just hardcore
doing
kids.
well. Yeah.
Just hardcore kids playing death metal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think I could be wrong because I don't know the guys at all, but I think I read in an article that the 200 Stab Wound guys were more metal guys that just, hung out with hardcore kids and went to hardcore. Not saying they don't like hardcore, but I think they were pretty rooted in death metal to begin with, which is awesome. And Frozen Soul, all that stuff is fucking awesome.
They're all Mortician and Bolt Thrower fans, which explains a lot. Like it explains a lot. Yeah.
Do you guys listen to Hard Lore?
Yeah.
See, I think that's a great podcast for these younger people because people our age could tell younger kids to listen to these bands you just mentioned, and we just sound like the old grumpy guys. But then you have people like Colin and Bo who are like younger. They're who these younger kids look up to their bands, telling these kids to like listen to like Marauder all the time, and Bolt Thrower. And I think that's great too, because you have people like that are gonna say that cool shit. And then these younger kids are gonna be like, you know what, maybe I will go listen to them. If these guys
Yeah.
if I say it, they're just gonna be like, all right, shut up, dude.
Yeah,
You're-
shut up, Grandpa. Why don't
yeah,
you go take your Metamucil?
you
Yeah.
have shitty opinions. Leave me alone.
But to that point, Mitchell, I mean, look at LDB this year. The bands that got two of the bands that got the biggest reaction were Dying Fetus and Obituary.
Dying Fetus was FYA.
Oh, FYA. I'm sorry. FYA. LDB was Obituary.
Did Obituary go over well? Because I didn't watch the stream, and I
I heard
to.
that there were people were really having a great time. They were really having a great time. But I mean, that's something where festival organizers, that's something to think
They're
about,
smart.
right? You have a chance to introduce a whole shit ton of young people. Why wouldn't you throw something on there where, hey, appreciate your roots?
I mean,
This
to be fair, I mean, most people, including myself, when you go, who's your favorite, especially younger kids, who's your favorite hardcore band? There's going to be two answers right away: Terror and Hatebreed. Terror, I can't say too much about with what I'm about to say because they're just a straight up great hardcore band. But Hatebreed is just death metal sped up without Jamie growling. You know what I mean? Especially
Yeah.
Satisfaction. I mean, it Entombed riffs all day,
Yeah.
Obituary riffs. Like, so this is why I would sound like an old asshole, because I would be like, yo, young kids, listen to your fucking roots. You should listen to these bands, because without those bands, you don't have Hatebreed. But then you have someone like Colin and Bo who make it fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're not telling you, you idiot, go listen to this.
Because I would say, like, you're an idiot. These bands
Yeah.
are first, you know?
Listen to For Those Who Were Crucified and then come back to me, because that record is, you know what I mean?
I will cop to, I'm definitely a bit of a shit poster on the new metal Reddit, because whenever someone says, hey, I want to get into like the heavier new metal, what should I listen to? And my canned response, so for anybody who's listening who sees it's the New Breed account, it's not Tim, it's me, it's Jay. My canned response is the Berserker. That's my canned response.
And they're probably like, okay, and then they put it on and go, what the fuck is
because
this?
I want that to happen, because for every kid that puts it on and goes, asshole, for every kid that does that, 5 kids that do that, there's one kid who's going to put on the Berserker and go,
this is tight.
This is kind of weird, but I think I kind of dig it, because that's how most of us find the most extreme stuff. Tim, what's the band? Gutalax? Mitchell?
Yeah.
The band that they wave the toilet brushes around, and we'll send you the video. It's unreal. Like, that's totally bonkers, but I kind of fuck with it. Like, and that's how we find most of this really extreme stuff. And then you have the stuff that Ethan does, which gives you literal nightmares. You know, like he just did a collab. Did you see that? He did a Many Blessings collab. Ethan from Primitive Man did a collab with, hold on.
Primitive Man? Aren't they from Massachusetts, right?
Denver, yeah.
Oh, is it Denver?
It's a 22-minute song. It's Many Blessings, so Ethan from Primitive Man, Vermin Womb, and Our Wrongs.
Just come out today?
No, it came out April 16th, yesterday. And it has the vocals from Dylan from Full of Hell.
Oh.
So you can imagine what this sounds like. It sounds like
hell.
Yeah. But that stuff is where you listen to, oh my God, I can never get into it. So then you go back and you're like, I kind of fuck with this. Yeah, I kind of fuck with this.
I think it's I'll have to check that out. But that's why I like heavy music right now. It just feels like it's on the come. Look at KublaiKhan. They're fucking selling out huge ass
Dude, have you
seen
the tickets for the Philly date?
No.
There's 2 pairs on StubHub, and they're $90 a pop for each ticket. So $180 for 2. And I want to go. Like, I really want to go see that show, but I'm not spending $90.
Who are they playing with?
Yeah,
it's them, Tsunami, Judiciary, and Momentum. So it's a beatdown event, and it's at Union Transfer. So
have you guys heard that record that the singer from Tsunami just did, or Simulacra? What the fuck? Final resting place, dude.
Yes,
hard.
That shit is my favorite EP right now.
I'm pretty I'm pretty sure Nick from who was in played drums in Vomit Forth is and
Oh, okay.
Separated, and he's in he's in that too, I think.
Oh, okay, dude,
He
that
plays
shit
drums in
is
that.
so hard
Yeah, it is.
because it tricked me when it came out because it said 1995, and I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I get it now.
I looked
But
that up. Oh shit. Some bombing happened that day. The exact date that's on there, something
okay,
happened that day. And I
okay, was
think
it
because
August or something of 95 or I think?
it like the exact because Mike Polero hit me up. It was like, hey, did this come out in 1990? Because like the recording is also like older sounding.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I was like, no, like, no. So I looked up the date. If I had the exact date, I'd look it up again. But it was some bombing or something like there was a significance to that date. And I
Oh,
thought that
okay.
was cool. It was like a little Easter egg that made you go, you had to, like, I looked for it because I was like, why would they do that? Why would that fucking, like, why would it be like 1995? What? There
Yeah,
has to be something to this.
it
There
says
was
it on the
a
Bandcamp too. Yeah, 95. Yeah.
it there was a bombing. Oh no, that's not it. Jesus.
Jay, have
Honestly, it
you
might
heard
not
that
even
yet?
be it.
There was a bombing in November of 95,
There's
military
an
building
exact date.
in
Hold on.
Riyadh.
I
Yeah.
think that's it.
Jay, have you heard that EP yet?
I actually haven't.
Oh my
I heard
god,
one
dude.
song and I was like, yo, I gotta come back. I had it on the background, I stopped. So I'm like, yo, I gotta put headphones on and listen to this. But what I heard, the
April
aesthetic,
19th.
the aesthetic, right?
Yeah,
They
it's
crushed the aesthetic.
disgusting.
The,
Yeah.
the the cover completely describes the music you're about to hear without even hearing the music.
Yeah. Yeah, my favorite EP right now. Absolutely. I can't stop listening to it. They killed
Oklahoma
it.
City bombing.
Oh, it was Oklahoma
Oh,
City was in
okay.
95.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's April
Okay.
19th, 1995 is the. Well, there you go, because I think this came out on Days too. That's why, like, Days is killing it right now.
Yeah, it did come out on Days. Yep.
Yeah.
That's when I figured out I'm like, this is either a re-release that I never heard, which I'm pretty pissed off if that's the case, or it just came out on Days, and then I looked on Discogs and it did. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that shit's incredible, man.
Yeah, it's
I
very
can't wait
good.
till you hear that, Jay.
Yeah.
So should we
Definitely
get
gonna go
back
into
to
that.
Portishead?
Yeah, I mean, let's we're an hour and a half in. We probably should tie it back to Portishead and then bring it home. So
Well, I
dummy,
want to say one
come
thing.
on.
I think this band was way ahead of their time. I mean,
Oh yeah.
come
Yeah.
on, dude.
They're still ahead of their time.
Yeah, I mean, it's that shit is haunting. It's super visceral in a soft way, if that makes sense. He is with the way I'm trying to say it in my head, but it's way above their time. Does it put trip hop on the map? I guess you could say, yeah. I mean, I know you said one thing about you don't really. Did you say, Mitchell, you don't really believe in trip hop like as a genre or?
No, that was grunge.
Oh, grunge. Okay, okay.
I think this is the only band that is trip hop. Like, if you took the word trip hop, you know what I mean? Like, this is actually influenced by hip hop, and
Yeah,
it's like got trippy shit. Like, to me, like all these other groups like Massive Attack, Tricky. I don't really think they're trip hop. I just think they're like a form of electronic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's fair.
I would consider Massive Attack electronic band. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, they
Or
they
like
were
Bjork, because people say Bjork's trip hop, and I'm just like, she's just electronic. Like,
yeah, she's just I mean, she just does pop music. She's got a very healthy electronic edge. Yeah.
yeah. I think if anyone put trip hop on the map, it would be Bjork, because she always would have like shout out Tricky, or wear shirts of some of these other groups that
Mm-hmm.
I would say Massive Attack too. I don't even know if you could call Portishead trip hop now that I think of it. They're just like their own fucking thing.
Yeah, it's almost impossible. Who was that, Tim? We had somebody on who told us they were from Iceland. No, I know who it was. It was my tattoo guy. He sent me somebody who's this female recording artist from Iceland who makes the like jazz music, and it's fucking awesome. I was like, can't believe I'm really listening to this. What was
You
the
can
name
find
of
that. Send me that.
That is called. It's not Justin Timberlake.
I don't know if I can do jazz.
You know what? Also, I was thinking about this today. You know what? Also made trip hop and electronic music pretty popular. You guys remember that movie Tank Girl?
Yes.
The comic book
Yes.
that has Massive Attack on it, Portishead's on it, Bjork's on it, Tricky's on it, and then like at the same year, Fifth Element came out. You remember that?
I remember that
Mhm.
one.
with
Yeah.
Bruce Willis. Tricky was in that, and they had some of the trip hop stuff in that. I think for someone like me, that's how I really found out about that music, was through those movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just threw it in the chat. The artist is Laufey, Laufey. It's almost like 20s and 30s type jazz, but she's got a voice. Like she's got a voice. It's something.
I want to put it in my
She's
list.
nice to look at too.
Yeah,
How do you
she's
spell that
Laufey.
for all the listeners?
So shout out to Nick at DNA Tattoos. He's
Oh,
the
yeah.
guy who was playing this, and as he's buzzing away on my arm, I'm trying to look over his shoulder at the iPad and be like, "Yo, what is this playing?"
Yeah, you ever notice that? Like, I'm looking on Spotify, 13 million monthly listeners, never heard of her. That's incredible. You know what I mean? Like,
The power of the internet.
but not even that, just like international music. Like, I can guarantee you most of these listeners are from Europe or like overseas, because people over there seem to not really care. If it's good, it's good. That's all that matters.
Right.
13 million. Awesome.
Which is that, and that's how they do those awesome mixed bills, where they'll have a heavy metal band, a hardcore band, a trip hop band, a pop singer. Like it's a different animal. So back to Portishead. So we talked about Dummy is the album that comes out. Then they do a self-titled, right? And then they do that Live in the Roseland album, which is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Like they literally pull off live all the crazy shit that's on the album.
I saw him live.
Really?
In Asbury Park. Oh my God. Who's the guy that does Obey?
Shepherd Ferry.
He put together a festival. This had to have been like 2011, maybe 12.
Doesn't that feel so long ago?
Yeah, it was a great fest. I don't even want to look it up, because then I'm gonna because Battles played. It was like a really good fest. There was a lot of hip hop there too. Anyway, they played there and it was incredible. The people I was there with were crying because of how good Portishead was.
Wow.
Really?
And they didn't have like a crazy like stage setup. They had like a screen, and it was playing some stuff, as they're playing.
Okay.
But it was just them, very minimal, whatever, Just
All
chill there
tomorrow's
playing. Yes,
all tomorrow's parties.
Mhm.
Yes.
And dude, I just remember just thinking, one of those moments where it's like, I can't even be a musician.
Who played,
Yeah, it's
Mitchell?
like, I'm done. I retire.
Huh?
Who played besides Portishead? Who played?
Definitely Battles, because I was really drunk at this thing, but Battles definitely played, because they were, if Portishead didn't play, they would have stolen the show. That's why I
Okay.
remember them. They were so good. There was a ton. It was like a 2-day festival. So I don't even know who headlined the maybe Portishead headlined both nights.
I
saw
feel
them on
like
Saturday.
I feel like seeing a band like that. I mean, I obviously never seen them, but I feel like seeing a band like that, it just makes you pay attention. Like all of your attention at that point goes right to that stage. You know what I mean? They're one of them
Yeah.
bands that.
Well, you're there for them.
Well, yeah, but
like if you're going to see Portishead, you're just there for that band, and you're just going to be mind blown and sad for the next 5 weeks.
yeah,
You know
put
what
your
I mean?
fucking phone in your pocket and live that moment.
It was
Mhm.
incredible. It was. They're one of the few bands where I'm just like, that was one of the best live shows I've ever seen.
Jesus. Ultramagnetic MCs, Mogwai, Shellac, The Horrors, Chavez, Earth, Annika, People of the North.
Which is a fucking shame that I don't remember how. You know what it is? Because it was like, it was something that took over Asbury, so they all didn't play the same room.
God,
Right.
So you kind of had to like walk around, and I was just too busy getting drunk.
The
I think I did
Silver
see-
Mount Zion Orchestra. Like, holy shit.
I think I saw No, I don't think Mogwai played.
Yeah, Sunday, September 2nd. Portishead, Mogwai,
No, I'm
these
saying
Silver.
I don't think they played.
Oh, maybe
I
they
think
didn't show up.
because they always
Okay.
have visa issues.
They
I've only
do.
seen them. I've bought tickets to go see them 10 times. I've seen them twice because they were able to play.
They do. You're right. They always have visa issues. They really do.
They do.
I don't even remember what they sound like.
Oh, they're fucking awesome.
Yeah, like
Is it like a trip hoppy kind of thing?
imagine ugh.
Like Explosion to the Sky, but better.
Okay.
Yes,
Like
with
vocals.
vocals.
Yes.
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna look that up right now.
Yeah,
So if you ever like listening to like a more upbeat not even upbeat, but like because sometimes earlier Explosion in the Skies can just go crazy. But if you put like Explosion in the Sky and put it together more cohesive and put vocals on it, that's Mogwai definitely influenced them. You know?
Yes.
I will definitely be checking that
Tim,
out tomorrow.
my favorite was there's an album called Mr. Beast that
Yes.
Mogwai did. That's to me, that was, I mean, that was where I got introduced and I was like, yo. But if you go backwards, Happy Songs for Happy People, Rock Action, and even
Rock
like
Action, yep.
going forward, what's the one?
Hawaii, I think is not Hawaii.
There's a one about dropping a bomb, isn't there? Or no, they did a soundtrack to
Yes, they did.
a movie about like dropping the bomb, but man, we've gotten off the reservation here. But yeah, it's start with Mr. Beast.
Yeah,
And
we
then-
definitely went off the reservation.
Yeah, but that's
Well-
a testament to how good Portishead is, because
Seriously.
you know what I'm saying? You could just kind of just veer off. And for me, Portishead is so important that without them, I like whatever I do in music, especially since I started playing bass, I always think about Portishead, you know? So to me, this conversation we have makes a lot of sense. It might not make sense to like the listeners, but to me, it
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense because they're like one of my favorite groups that
Yeah.
influenced me.
We've literally hit for the cycle about these bands that not normies, but people who are not in the know might not ever hear about, right? We talked about Portishead, we talked about Mogwai, even like Massive Attack, not as big as you would think. Big, but not as big as you would think. We just remember it. I mean, you know what else I think about when
Dude, they
people
played
bring
Wells
up...
Fargo Center
Yes.
a few years ago. And
you
it's
may-
like, yeah, most person you would bring this up to would not know who they are.
No, but
Okay.
our age bracket,
Yeah,
right?
and they're selling out the fucking Wells Fargo Center.
You know
That's
what else
crazy.
made me think of when you brought up Mogwai? I always put them in the same vein as Boris,
Yes.
as
Yep.
one of those bands that are just almost Radiohead-esque in the inability to describe them, because they just when you think, oh, okay, the next album is like, whoa. And then the
Mono.
album after that is Mono. Yep.
So I
Um,
should send. I'll send
Mogwai-
you.
Mogwai did the Blackbird soundtrack. You know that
Yeah.
Apple TV show?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. Now
I'll send you
okay.
my old band stuff. So do you remember that band Little League? Kill
Yes.
Barlow,
Hell yeah.
Little League.
Hell yeah, yeah.
So their drummer and their guitar player and myself and our friend Scott, who played drums in Fight Amp. I don't know if you remember Fight Amp.
I remember
Yeah.
Fight Amp.
And
Yep.
my old band that I know Tim might know, David's Burning.
Yeah.
We started a band that basically was a ripoff of Explosion in the Sky, Mono, and stuff. So I'll send you that because if you like that stuff, you might like us.
Yeah, send it over.
We got a little weird, but to me a cool way. So
You know what I really enjoyed that I heard? Len's band that sounds like Kid Dynamite and stuff. That shit is incredible.
Oh, that newer band, right?
Dude, that stuff was amazing. I could not believe how good that track was. I think it's like 3 tracks maybe, but that shit's really good, man.
Sorry, Len, I should know the name of this band.
I can't remember either. But goddamn,
He's like me. He's in so many fucking bands.
I don't know how
Another
you guys
talented
keep
dude.
track.
yeah. Every time I see Len, I'm like, this dude either hates me or he's just very quiet.
He's Len.
Yeah. Okay.
You talk to him and he'll talk to you.
It's kind of like the first time I met Joe Stanley. I'm like, I think this dude hates me.
I think it's the older because they're both almost 50. I think it's in their that's their generation of like they look standoffish, but then they're both
The older
like,
grumpy guys.
awesome.
Yeah.
Nah, Joe's cool as shit though. Yeah.
Joe's amazing. He's a great guy.
Did you hear his interview on Jimmy's podcast?
Sure did. I
Really
I
good.
spent a
man.
lot of time with Joe in like vans because he filled in for Descent a lot, and so got a lot of time to actually get to know him. And that thing he did with Jimmy, the podcast, he said so much stuff that like I had no idea. You know what I mean? But it made me realize. It made Joe make more sense. I don't know how to if that
Yeah,
comes
yeah,
off.
yeah.
Then you're like, oh, okay, I get
Yeah,
it.
I had him in for Ill Street one day when we were still doing that, and I was like, one of the hardest interviews because I thought he wanted to kill me the whole time.
He's great.
But he's super cool.
He's one of the coolest.
Jesus.
No, nothing
right.
against him at all. He's super cool.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just but also he's a big physically imposing dude.
Mm-hmm.
Especially
like-
now.
Yeah, you put him and like Cody from Gloves Off, like those two guys can walk in a room. It's like, yo, here's my wallet, here's my cell phone. Please don't hurt me. You
Also,
know?
shout out to Gloves Off. Their 2 new songs, amazing.
Yo,
Fucking love
And
Cody.
Mitchell, we did a reaction vid of their pop punk thing, the Great
Yeah,
American Typewriter,
yeah,
which
good too.
if you watch that video on mute, Tim and I were laughing about this. It's the most unnerving thing because you've heard Cody singing Gloves Off. You know what he sounds like, right?
Yeah.
And you watch his video and you got a big tattooed guy running around singing. You think it's going to sound like one thing, and you hit the volume, and Newfound Glory starts coming out of the speakers, and you're like, "What is this?"
Yep.
But no, sickeningly talented.
That whole band is talented.
Speaking of bands playing in all sorts of places, have either of you guys been to Bonk's Bar yet? Mitchell? Yeah?
Actually, I haven't. I also haven't really gone to shows this last year. I've been in a funk, so I heard it's awesome.
You can actually see it from 95. It's kind of wild. I was in traffic on the way to Decibel, and I looked over. I'm like, is that Bonk's Bar? And it was big sign. That band, that one-man slam band, Torture, that's on Days. Yeah. They're playing there. I'm like, it's a Tuesday night. I got to get out of the house.
That's coming up, isn't it?
Yep.
I think you might see me there.
Oh, nice.
I'm with you. I'm like trying to get out of the house more.
Yeah, I spend too much time staring at this thing.
I'm trying to stay in the house more.
Jesus. Yeah, it's something else.
Going outside.
All right. I think let's call it. Let's call it. We've done an hour and a half. It's fantastic.
Great conversation.
So, first of all, everybody who's listening, go check out Portishead. Right? It's we started there, then we went a different direction. If you just clear your mind, don't listen to anything we said. Just start listening, and you'll probably enjoy it. I want to thank Mitchell for coming on again. We did 90 minutes of all over the place, but you're right, Mitchell, and I think you nailed it when you said, in our brains, these connections make total sense.
Yeah.
They make total sense how we made those, from Mogwai to Mono to Boris. Like, to us, that makes sense. Other people are like, what the fuck? So
before we go, though, tell everyone where you can find your band, all that kind of stuff.
Our name is Blackest Dawn. You can find us on all the streaming sites, Spotify, Apple, YouTube. And right now, the only thing we have is This Is Hardcore, so go get your tickets. All 3 days are amazing. And then we should have new music out before then, too.
Oh, nice. So, okay.
Sweet.
Yeah, we'll link it in the show notes and all that, too.
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah,
awesome.
Thanks for
all right.
having me.
So thanks, everybody. Thanks, Mitchell, for coming on. Thanks, everybody, for watching, listening. Newbreed_podcast at Gmail. No, Newbreed_podcast, Twitter, and Instagram, newbreedpodcast at gmail.com. 267-297-4627 for all your voicemail questions, comments, complaints, concerns, jokes. We'll play them all on the show, folks. Tune in next week for another episode. Mitchell, you got one more thing?
Yeah. Blackest Dawn on Instagram. Sorry.
There
Blackest Dawn New J. Like the most important thing, I totally forgot. Sorry, guys.
That's
no worries. Gotta throw the plugs out there. So tune in next week for another episode. Wednesdays at 12 p.m. when I remember to get them out on time. And every Friday, go onto YouTube. We do reaction vids. Tim and I got drunk the other night and did 23 vids. We have stuff lined up through till September. And they're not in drinking order, so you might get a slurring Jay, you might get a slurring Tim. It's
great.
It's good times. So thanks again, everybody, for watching and listening.
Thank you.
Peace.
Later.